Hi, it's Jay Height, and it is March. And we are busy as always, and we are so excited that you joined us today, and you're going to hear some exciting things that we are doing as we want to invest in the lives of the earliest children in our neighborhood, the youngest ones. And one of those programs, something that's very special to my family, is Project Jordan. As we work with birth moms and their babies in a very special way to invest in those parents, the most important teachers in that child's life. Here's a little story about Project Jordan as it looks today.
Do you draw a dog? Yeah? You're talking so well. So Project Jordan is a program for moms and their kids. So those that are pregnant or have kids 0 to 3 years old. Good morning, world. What do I see? In Project Jordan, I have 20 families and I have a wait list. We do things like home visits. I do curriculum, developmental screenings, diapers, wipes, formula. And then I refer to our family engagement team for anything like rental assistance or financial assistance.
We can make the zucchini pizzas. My name's Claudia Romo, and I've been in Project Jordan for about 10 years now. I was there with my son when he was 3, and he's now 11. And now my daughter Maddie is in Project Jordan, and she's 3.
This is Esme, my 1.5-year-old daughter. She's my business partner. When I found out about this position, it kind of seemed too good to be true. I didn't think that I would end up in Indiana, moving from Oklahoma, and especially learning that I could bring Esme with me, that was a really big thing. Here's the diapers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They have always been there for me. I went there since I was a teenager myself. When I struggled with food, housing, they were always there to help me out. I'm grateful because they've been there.
So in this zip code, there's a lot of struggles. One of the big ones is finding daycare, job insecurity, food insecurity. There's a lot of things at play that Shepherd tries to help with each aspect.
I think it helps other mothers because sometimes they don't have the support they need. Molly's always there to help out with like diapers, housing, or anything that they might be struggling with. She's always there.
I love Claudia. She was one of the first friends that I made here, and when I was struggling to fit into this position and figure out what I was doing, I could just ask her any question. Esme loves her daughter, and it's been a good fit. Daisy. I came in thinking that I would help these moms have a community, and I've learned that I get to be a part of the community as well. It's not helping them, it's helping all of us. And so that has been a really great thing to witness and to be a part of.
I think one of the powerful parts of Project Jordan is the community that is those young moms, where together they journey together, share ideas, and care for each other. It's a powerful thing. I'm excited today to have Adam Olson with us, who runs childcare for the state. I'll let you give the title because it's really big.
Yes, it is.
Tell me what your title is.
So, Jay, I am the director of the Office of Early Childhood and Out-of-School Learning for the state of Indiana. In layman's terms, what that does is that it administers all funding for the state of Indiana in regards to childcare, and then also regulates all childcare facilities in the state, so all 4,200.
Yeah, we've gone through a difficult time as funding has changed and the reality coming out of COVID, many of those dollars are gone. There were some real victories, though, in this past session, and you have been an advocate and a voice for us at the State House, for our neighbors, for their kids. Tell us, what are some of those accomplishments?
So before we get into that, the first thing I'd like to, want to make sure it's clear that, the stories around everything that we want to do from a child care perspective in the state of Indiana, right, is pro-family, right? It's pro-family from a child's perspective, pro-family from a parent's perspective, and everyone, and also those employers where those people that want to work, right, and go to work to better their lives, right? Because that's the point of the exercise, right? And so getting into, I think there's been there's an understanding in the State House especially over the challenges in the early childhood space over the last year, that what we've done, we may have to do some other things. We may have to look at this differently. So a couple of things came out of the legislative session this year. The first one is House Enrolled Act 1177. And what that does is broadens the employer child care expenditure tax credit in the state of Indiana. What that, and in layman's terms, what it does, it says child care providers, child care businesses can have, it is easier for those child care businesses to build partnerships with employers. An employer gets a 50% tax credit by supporting either the child care business itself or one of their employees. Another part in that bill as well is that now there's the ability for local redevelopment commissions to use TIF funding for child care projects locally. That is also very important from a local perspective. At the end of the day, child care and early childhood is a local problem, right? That's what it is. 4,200 child care businesses in the state of, facilities in the state of Indiana, roughly 4,000 of them are small businesses. And, what those small businesses are is they are meeting needs at a local community level every day, every week, every month, every year. There's a couple now tools in the toolbox for local child care businesses to engage with both employers and then also with their local governments. I come from Rensselaer, Indiana, which is in northwest Indiana. It's about halfway between Indianapolis and Chicago. And part of my story is created a nonprofit and was past president of it called Appleseed Childhood Education that created affordable and quality child care in a child care desert in a rural community in a low per capita income area. And we were lucky enough to do that through partnerships with employers, partnerships with local government. And these couple things that came out of this specific bill makes that easier to do. So that's one of the big things that happened in the legislative session. The other thing is obviously, I think we're all burying the lead here a little bit, but there's a bill, Senate Enroll Act 4, that allowed for effectively additional appropriations to CCDF vouchers. That is subject to state budget committee approval. That is something that we are ongoing on determining what that's going to be and roll that out, what that looks like, how we want to do it. We don't know what the number is going to be, so don't ask Jay. I know that's obviously the biggest question. But know from our perspective and our office's perspective and throughout the Braun administration that we understand the time that this has to be, we have to decide it, we have to roll it out, we have to be very transparent to the child care space because it is very important, because on the back end we understand that child care businesses are going to be making business decisions off of what that is. And the quicker and the sooner that we can do that for the space, that allows the space to do the real work, set their business models, and make business decisions on how they want to, how those individual businesses want to, do the work, which is the real work of taking care of kids every day.
And something to do with Senate Bill 4 has to do with frogs.
Yes. So the mechanism is, and this is a term that will be heard of, more and more, I think, over the next few months. It's additional appropriation to something called the Frog Fund, which is the Financial Responsibility and Opportunity Growth Fund. It's a fund that was created in the state budget last year, and there was three different uses that fund could be used for, and House Enrolled Act 4 added a fourth, which is CCDF vouchers.
That's good.
So I think what that shows is there is an acknowledgement of the importance of childcare and early childhood throughout the state of Indiana, and now we're going through the process of figuring out what that may be, right? It was a non-budget year, and there's this that it's going to be something, right? And we're figuring it out right now. So I'm looking forward to getting all of that information out to the entire space, right? Because it got quite a bit of press during session, and for good reason, right? And it's our responsibility to turn that around in a timely fashion, and right, let the entire childcare space understand what that is, how we're going to implement it, and go from there.
Yeah, I want to get the job at the state that does acronyms, so that
yes,
all of those things, so that maybe I could get creative and make frogs and.
I know, yes, all kinds of things. So Jay, I will say you know this, but I started 13 months ago. It was my first time in state government, and there's a lot of opportunity to make acronyms in state government. There are a lot of them that exist, and people love them in state government.
Yeah. So Adam, I want to ask you a personal question. You are a farmer.
Mm-hmm.
You done derivative trading.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't know how those two come together, but you answered a call to lead this.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
So it's because I think it's important. I come from a small rural community, right? Grew up there, went off to college, went off to New York, worked on Wall Street, and didn't want that to be my life, right? And I came back and took over the family farm 13 years ago. And off the back of that, love the place I live, right? I love Rensselaer, Indiana. And that's where me and my wife decided to raise a family, right? We could have went anywhere in the world, and we decided to make our home Rensselaer, Indiana. And, it's a small rural community of 5,000 people. And it's got a lot of great things, and there's also things that it also needs as well. And, off the back of, some work with our community foundation, Jasper Newton local community foundation, Jasper Newton Foundation, and its executive director, Brian Hooker, got more and more involved around how can we make Rensselaer and how can we make the broader Jasper and Newton County community a better place to live, and for other people to want to live there as well. And going through that, we also needed childcare at one point in our lives. My wife's a writer, and when we had our first child, who's now 11, when he was about 2, my wife was writing a book, and I was farming, and we realized very quickly, we can't do this, and we need help. There was one licensed childcare center in Rensselaer, and we begrudgingly sent our pride and joy there, and within about 2 weeks, and to be clear, Jay, I didn't know anything about I didn't know anything about early childhood, didn't know about anything about early learning, childcare, anything, right? It's we need help, right? Like so many parents, working parents do throughout the state of Indiana. And, we closed our eyes and said, yeah, because we need to do it, because we got work to do. And our son had a wonderful experience. And, after 2 or 3 weeks, we saw him doing things that we were not teaching him at home, and we saw the benefit. And he had a wonderful experience for about 18 months. And sadly, that center closed about 8 years ago in Rensselaer, and put us in a lurch and the other 60 families, that were going there at the time. It was sad, right? Ran out of money, as many nonprofit, right, childcare and early childhood facilities do in places of relatively low per capita income places. Rural communities, urban communities, suburban communities, right, where, sometimes it works, and it works until it doesn't, right? And, after having that personal experience of seeing how personal it is from a personal perspective, how important it can be and beneficial from a family perspective, but also seeing how beneficial it can be from a community perspective. My wife, myself, a few other people in the community started getting together after we all put our lives back together and said, hey, is there a different way that we can do this? Is there a way to create affordable, quality childcare in a place like Rensselaer that is sustainable? Because at the end of the day, it's a business model that has low margins at best, and in a lot of places has negative margins, right? So, that's my origin story, is saying, all right, hey, let's start a nonprofit and let's see if we can do it. And we did it through a public-private partnership with local government support, local employer support, and local philanthropic support. And we partnered with a wonderful third-party, wonderful child care operator called Right Steps Child Development Centers out of Lafayette. And they agreed to operate the center. We said we'd go and fund it, and we'd go find the money for it. And we have a lot of great partnerships. One of them is Franciscan Health. They're the critical access hospital in Rensselaer. They effectively donated the building, and we got local government support for operations, and we raised money, and we did all this stuff. And out of the end of it, there's a 70-seat high-quality early childhood center in Rensselaer, Indiana, and that opened in 2023, and that was one of the best days of my life when that opened. When I dropped my 4-year-old daughter off to this thing that helped build. Off the back of that, got very interested in state and federal policy around this space as well, because now I had this personal experience, right, of seeing how important it is from a local and community level, right, a neighborhood, community, local level, and saying like, hey, how do we get, like, how's the rest of this work? Because it seems really important. And through that, made a lot of great relationships at state and federal level around child care policy, and some of those people are now working in the Governor Braun's administration, and got a call to say, hey, got a call a couple Decembers ago saying, like, we know this is important. We know we know that Adam, a whole lot about this. Would you be willing to come on the team? And I was like, I didn't know that was an option, Jay. I'm just going to say I didn't know it came out of the blue, but said, why not? Why not try? And I've gotten an education over the last 13 years, or sorry, it feels like years, yeah. 13 months.
In dog years.
It's in dog years, and there's obviously been days that have been challenging around this.
You've been advocating for the kids, and I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Our model has to change.
Yep.
What it was 5 years ago isn't what it's going to be tomorrow.
Yep.
I appreciate you advocating, even as we already are looking to next session.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What can we expect?
That's a very good question. I think it comes down to, I think there's a general acknowledgement in the General Assembly that child care and early childhood is an issue that we need to take much more seriously than maybe we have in the past, and say, hey, how do we as a state want to invest in early childhood and child care over the next, not just couple of years, but how do we want to do it over 5-10 years?
I think State Senator Charbonneau said that child care is the new infrastructure.
Yep, I fully agree with him on that.
And I think we have some tough decisions, but I appreciate your leadership, the leadership of our legislature, who have fought to try to be creative and help. And one of the things that we've learned in our journey together was banks can support child care centers through their CRA dollars.
Yes, they can. They can.
And that was new for some. And so we're encouraging folks to, if you're a banker and you want to invest in a kid, this is a great way. Find a child care center in your area, in your community, that meets the CRA guidelines.
Yep.
So, Adam, thank you. We've got a lot of work to do, and we'll keep going. I want to thank everyone for listening. If you want to hear more about things that we're talking about here at Shepherd Community, you can go to Breaking the Cycle of Poverty wherever you get your podcast. Our next podcast will be an interview with Senator Todd Young and his child tax credits that he is working on, that would be a game changer for families in poverty, where from the very beginning, they can begin earning tax credits. We appreciate his leadership. You'll hear more about that in the next podcast. If you'd like to volunteer, we can always use volunteers. Come read with a kid. If you're handy with tools, which I'm not, we could use your help as we work in our community on homes, whether it's repairs here. We're excited because the building in the front is under renovation. So the porch will be making its premiere in June. And we appreciate our partnership with Madden Lee Construction, who's making that happen with all their subs and moving forward so we can help more folks. But if you'd like to work and you like doing that, we could find you a job. If you want to help deliver food, that is a continued issue, and let us know. My wife and I have the privilege each week to be able to go see some neighbors, take food to them, and it's a powerful moment on the front porch. And we would encourage you, if you'd like to do that, to come help. If you'd like to donate, you could go to shepherdcommunity.org. We encourage you to do that. Your investment brings about a return for eternity, and we appreciate that. Some in-kind items we need. We're getting toward the warmer season, so you know those freeze pops that you can buy and then you put them in the freezer? Well, we got lots of kids here, lots of kids that we can begin using those as we start getting them out and about. If you'd like to donate some candy, we have our upcoming Easter event. And we always, because of the work we're doing in the neighborhood, can use trash bags. So those are some in-kind items that you can order, ship them to us, and we would greatly appreciate it. We hope you have a great Easter coming up in just a few weeks. Thank you for giving us your time as we talk about investing in the lives of the youngest kids in our neighborhood. Thanks, and have a great month.